Hello there. What is going on, everybody? We are going to be looking at a Gamefound campaign. Gale Force 9 has finally launched the long-awaited Star Trek Ascendancy, and it is back with a lot of new bells and whistles. And if you have never played the game, or if you have played it, or if you are a current owner of the game, if you have everything, or if you have some expansions, we're going to talk about this. And if this is maybe something that you should consider pledging, because the final frontier is the latest installment of Star Trek Ascendancy from Gale Force 9. It looks really impressive to me. There's some things that I am really excited about when I look at this, and then there's some other things that I was sort of hoping were going to make it in that didn't. So we'll talk about all of that. We are still also doing a new round of the giveaways for a $25 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. I want to know some of the things that you are excited about when you think about Star Trek Ascendancy or Star Trek on your tabletop, if there's other Star Trek games that you play. And if not, what has caught your eye? What are you interested in getting into? And also let me know if you agree with any of the points that I make during this video. So there's some interesting things that I want to talk about. Lot of new bells and whistles in this particular campaign. There's a solo and multiplayer mode with NPCs. And what that is basically AI. They're calling them NPCs in this. There's like an AI system, of like a card drawn system where there's like different leaders that can run some of these civilizations. There's a campaign mode as well. All looks very interesting. I'm not usually big on campaigns, but I know a lot of people are. And campaigns are something I'm willing to do, but it's harder to see them all the way through. So it's better for me if they're very short campaigns. If I can get a campaign in like 3 or 4 games, good to go. If it's going to take me, like 15 games, then I'm probably not going to finish it. But of course, this is just an option. And also, it talks about that these campaign missions can also be played as like standalone missions also. So I think that's a real plus. But the NPC thing is interesting because it's basically an AI opponent that you can play against and basically play solo. And it's also something that you can inject into your game. So if you're playing with a buddy and you want to have a 3-player game, you can do that with the AI. And you used to be able to kind of do that, like both of you against the Borg, but now necessarily you can run AI for different races as well. So you don't necessarily, it doesn't always have to be the Borg that you're facing, because if you had a small play group, you might have had to put the Borg into your games a little bit too much. And Borg have also seen a big overhaul. There's a whole new edition. And we're going to talk about that a little bit too, because there's some really interesting things coming with this new edition. And we're getting also 3 new factions. Now, these factions are going to be exclusive to this campaign. I know some people like exclusives, some people don't like exclusives, but this is what it is now. The Gorn, which of course are classics to the original series, and also showing up a lot more prominently in Strange New Worlds. The Terran Empire, which of course is a very cool one, of that Mirror Universe faction. And the Tholian Assembly, which are, I believe they remake entire planets and stuff. They're a lesser known, they're not one of the prominent alien races, but you might recognize them when we start looking at the campaign and look at some of that other stuff. And for me, one of the biggest things for this whole campaign is the new box system. This is a game that really benefits from having an organizer, and it comes with 2 Calyx-friendly boxes, which I know board gamers are going to go crazy over. They're cubes, basically, and there's a whole animation that Gale Force 9 has on their social media pages, and I think we'll be able to see this also in greater detail once we jump over to the Gamefound pages. We're going to do that also. But you have 2 boxes. One has all the gameplay components, and the other box has all of the races, and the races all have their different their own box. So if you want to play Klingons, okay, here's the Klingon box. There's all your stuff. Make sure I get that box back when you're done, exactly as I gave it to you. It's amazing. This is like a dream come true for storage and organization. And this is one of my things that just makes me go, ooh, it makes me get all prickly. I love this level of storage and organization. And then they close up and you've got 2 boxes. And then the boxes actually look really cool. Like, I want these on my shelf behind me in all of my videos. Like, these are awesome looking boxes. And I know that's a silly thing to get excited about because there's plenty more to get excited. But there's an awful lot that you're going to get with your pledge. And there's various different pledges depending on your level of involvement with Star Trek Ascendancy so far. Ranging from I have nothing to I have the core game only to I have got everything and everywhere in between. Maybe you got some stuff. There's, like me, I think I have everything except for two races. I never picked up the Andorians and the Vulcans, for example. So, you know, so there's stuff for you there, and so that's really cool. Let's go ahead and jump over, and we will take a look. So we're over on the Gamefound page now. This was already funded. It was funded in 6 minutes. 6 minutes. This was funded. So really quick that this was fully funded, which is super cool. Now this is a big game with a lot of stuff, so it's not going to be inexpensive. It's going to be a little on the pricier side depending on what you want to get, although you don't have to get all the deluxe stuff. They've also priced it out so where if you don't want the the custom faction dice and you don't want all of the space stations and stuff like that, you can save money by just getting the gameplay specific stuff. But if you like to deluxify it, you're going to get a lot of deluxified stuff as well. It's not going to cost as much as like a lot of CMON campaigns have cost me in the past, but it's not too bad. So it's anywhere going to be between like 150 and 500, it seems, depending on what you want to get. But you're getting a lot for that, and even at the entry level, you're still getting both boxes with that organization system that I love, which I think is very, very cool. If you've never played Star Trek Ascendancy, think of this as a Star Trek 4X, kind of like a Twilight Imperium or something along those lines, where different players are playing at different civilizations. They each have their own starting home system, but it's, instead of having a specific game board, you play in like an open area and you use these little space lanes to connect to the next system. So you're truly exploring, which is very cool. We got a little bit of the different civilizations that we're going to have in here with the Terrans, the Gorn, and the Tholians. And look at this. Look at this right here. This is this organization system. I'm glad they have this on here. This is, to me, one of the most impressive things I've seen for any Kickstarter. It looks like it's one of the absolute best inserts that I've ever seen, and I love this. Now, another thing that's really cool about this was one of the problems I had with the game, is that it's kind of a mess. At least my version of it is it's kind of a mess. I have things in bags all over the place, and it's hard to get everything sorted. And all right, here's this and that and that. This make that a lot easier. The other thing is there's a new edition of the game that's like a 2.0 rule set, and there have been a number of changes. A big change is the gameplay is sped up tremendously. And I think that's important because if you've ever played Star Trek Ascendancy, you know that it can really start to go slow, especially as you add more players. The first couple of turns are pretty quick, but then by the third turn, all of a sudden somebody makes contact. Now we got to slow down. Everybody does their thing one at a time, and you end up with a lot of downtime. And they've gotten rid of most of that downtime because a lot of that stuff that you had to wait for players to all do one at a time is now done simultaneously. There's other changes to how you move through systems, going straight from one system to the next, and a lot of other changes in the rules. I'm not completely up to speed on all of them, but from what I've seen so far, it looks very promising. It looks like a whole new edition of the game where they have really focused on making on the fun factor and the things that make this game great, while minimizing some of those things that would kind of slow the game down, whether it be setup, gameplay. You start with more resources, so it's quicker to build your fleets and quicker to get technologies out there and all of that sort of stuff. So I think that that's very cool. Combining that with the campaign, the fact that you can add an AI, extra player or as many as you want. You can play up, I think you can run multiple AI if you want to run like a 4-player game and it's just you. I don't think there's anything stopping you from doing that. So that's really cool. And it's going to really appeal to a lot of people. So that's a cool thing. As we go down, there's a little bit of information about here about basic gameplay. Now, one of the things that is not my favorite about this game is that if you're the Federation, basically every one of your ships is represented by a Galaxy-class starship. It's not, you don't have this massive variety of ship types. That works really well for, for factions like the Ferengi that are all just using those Marauders. But when it comes to the Federation, you're like, oh man, I wish I had Mirandas, and I wish I had Nebulons, or Nebulas, and I wish I had Oberths and Sovereigns and all of this other stuff. That's that's something I kind of wish they had done, but considering how much else they've done, that's something that isn't a deal breaker for me. Plus, besides, people can already, if you want to 3D print your own fleets and do all that other stuff too, you can customize this game endlessly. So there's a lot of extra customization. Like Romulans are going to have the Dideridex warbirds. Maybe they could have added Valdors and stuff like that. Maybe they could have added birds of prey instead of the Vorchas or Negvars for the Klingons. But you know what? It's fine. Not all of the factions have a million different ship types to choose from. So I think the Federation is the one that kind of highlights the lack of diversity there. But we get into some new ships for our new factions. Now with the Terrans, it looks like they went with the NX. They have Archer and stuff like that, which is pretty cool to see Enterprise represented for big fans of Enterprise. Not my favorite Star Trek, but a lot better than I expected it to be. I'll say that much. But I do love the boxes. I love that you're getting updated rules. The NPC mode, the campaign mode, and the second edition upgrade pack is all stuff that you're getting in the base pledge. You're getting those 3 factions. You're getting all of this that's going to transform your game into this beautiful, faster to play, faster to set up mode. And that is, I think, the 150 pledge. That might seem like a lot if you've already got everything and you're looking to convert to second edition. And I can understand that. I think this is probably, the fact that you're getting 3 new race packs in addition to that, I think helps justify that cost. But for me, one of the biggest things is those boxes. Personally, my box is starting to fall apart. And so, because I've had Star Trek Ascendancy for a very long time. I think it was a game I got at launch. I haven't been able to play it as much. It's one of those games that's a little harder to play in the 1.0 version because of the length of gameplay and the amount of downtime. There's a lot of people who've played it once and said, unless we're, if we're going to have 4 or 5 people, it's going to take too long, so I'm not going to be able to do it. And so it looks like this is going to really fix that, which I'm excited for. But yeah, and so then it's just going to go over the rest of the different components and tokens and fleets and all of this stuff that you're going to have. The Vulcan. This is another thing I think is nice about this is if there is certain expansions that you never picked up, this is another way to pick those up and get those. Like I never even saw the Andorians or the Vulcans for sale. They were never in any of the stores around me. Like they just never showed up. And so it's like I'm like, oh, this is a chance to kind of for the completionist in me. And definitely, my thought is if you're going with this, you may want to go for that all-in pack just to have all of them. You're going to have this giant Calyx box that's going to sort every single faction, and wouldn't it be awful to have like 1 or 2 empty spots in there? And so that's another thing. Plus, you're going to get the Borg. The Borg have apparently had like a redesigned rule set and made them even more menacing and terrifying, which sounds kind of terrifying to me. But the cool thing about that is if they are extra menacing and terrifying, you're not always stuck playing against the board if you're trying to do something solo or just 2-player with a buddy, and to add that 3rd player as the Borg. You can now use any faction with those leaders and the AI and all of that, which I think is really cool. So, although, and again, they're not calling it AI, they're calling it the NPC, and I can understand there's some sensitivity towards AI. So, but basically, it's a game engine controlled character. So I like that, a non-player character. And then there's a Deluxe all-in, which comes with a lot of extra goodies. The star bases were often hard to find, and they're not necessary. There's cardboard tokens for them. They're not absolutely necessary, but this is an option that you can get. And then also the faction-specific dice. Again, not crucial, not a huge deal, but and I like that they separated this out, because I know sometimes, especially if it's an IP that I really love or a game that I'm really excited about, I'd love to go all in, and I love to get all the bling and the fancy stuff for my games. I love to jazz them up a little bit more. You should see my Twilight Imperium box, for example. I've got, custom this, that, and all, special dice for everybody. I've painted every ship you know, like ridiculous levels of detail and customization. So again, that's stuff that you can do here. If you want to get the deluxe all-in, which I believe is $500 if you were to pledge now. Now that's still a savings over what you would have piecemealed and spent, you know, on this elsewhere. So here's some of the different pledges. $149 is for that basic. If you've got everything and or you've got enough and you don't want to get any of the new, you know, any of the faction packs that you don't have, you're just going to get the three new races. You're going to get the campaign. Let me see. If you click on more info, it's going to tell you exactly what you're getting, right? You're getting the exploration set, which is the 3 new races. You're getting the Final Frontier campaign set, the 2nd edition upgrade kit. That one's exciting to me. The universe storage solution. It was probably my favorite part of the whole thing. And then the non-player civilization mode set. That's that AI system where you can, you know, you don't have to have as many physical players, or you can have all the physical players you want and decide you still want more and do that as well. I think that's going to be ideal for solo play, or maybe 2 players where you want to add a 3rd or 4th, you know, person. But you know, once you get into like 4 or 5 plus players, I think you probably have enough. And I don't know if everybody's gonna have enough table space for quite that many, although that would be really cool for a convention when you have a really big table and you have a lot of people all together to play. It's a very cool option to do right there. So that's a fun one. Now there's also the Starfleet Pledge, which is Star Trek Ascendancy, the Final Frontier, and the original civilizations. This one's probably a good one for like new people who have maybe played it and said, you know what, this is the time. Now I want to get into the game. And this is good if you don't want to get everything. But if you're just getting into the game, you're going to also want, right? Like I think this is a good starting point, because you're going to want the Federation and Klingons and Romulans are like the 3 most popular races in Star Trek. So, you know, this is a way to kind of bundle and to get those. And so the interesting thing here is if you look down at the different faction packs, they're normally like $30 a piece, with the exception of the Borg being $40. So it would seem like instead of this being $100 more, it should only be $90 more. But those are the core box factions, and they're not available in regular faction packs. So I don't know. I guess it's cheaper than having to buy the original core set on top of that, because you're getting 100. Unless you can find the core set for cheaper than $100, then you know this would be an option there if you're a newer person. So and now this is a playable all-in. So this is everything except for the dice and the starships, the bases and all of that other stuff. Rather, you're still getting starships. I mean the star bases. So for $3.99, you're getting everything for the campaign, and then every single race and every expansion ever made for it, which including the new 3, which is awesome. Again, this is the only time you're going to be able to get these latest 3: the Terrans, the Gorn, and the well, whatever the 3rd one was, I forget their name. but yes, so that's interesting. Now, and then if you want everything, it's $4.99. That also includes the faction-specific dice, the Tholians. Thank you, the Tholians and the star bases. And if you're like me and you're like, well, I don't necessarily need everything. Maybe I just get that, you know, Final Frontier expansion. And okay, well, that's good. I'll get that. That's going to have my upgrade kit. It's going to have the 3 new races. And then I come down here and say, what do I need to add? Oh, that's right. I can add on that Vulcan pack and the Andorian pack. So now I'd have everything. That's only 60 extra bucks. And then I can come down here and be like, oh, did I want to get the star bases and or the dice pack or a dice tray or any of that fancy stuff? I've got all of that. Now, if what I said didn't make sense to you, you can read about it here at the bottom, and this will tell you a little bit like, hey, am I brand new? Am I experienced? What should I get? You know, and then of course they have flex pay and all of that other stuff. So more information about the rules and all of that is at the bottom. All in all, it's not cheap, but you're getting a lot of game. This is a very detailed game. There's a lot to it. There's definitely a lot to it. So that's a quick look at the campaign, and I'm really interested to check it out once you know, you get that second edition rulebook. This is one of those that I need time to really fully appreciate, to dig into, and to get like a big game, especially at a convention or even on like maybe a Sunday with like 3 or 4 buddies come over, and it's a great, and it's Star Trek too. It's Star Trek. So, as you're discovering those new planets and playing those cards, read them out and tell the story of that galactic exploration of what's really happening. It's a cool thing. And that's the fun of a game like Star Trek, where you're going around and discovering, places where no one has gone before. All right, let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. That's a quick look at Star Trek Ascendancy from Gale Force 9. It's on Gamefound now, and I think it's got about 2 weeks. There may be a late pledge, so if you can't get into it right now, or maybe you just drop $1 down there just to kind of lock yourself in, that's always an interesting option. That's a good thing to do. I've done that so many times where you're just like, just in case, let me go ahead and drop that buck in there just so I'm locked in. That's something that I like to do. But let me know if this is something that you have your eye on or not. I'd like to hear about it down in the comments section below. That's going to do it for this video. I'll talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing. And always wash your socks.